What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Shooky from Shook Earth Media, and today we are talking about The Walking Dead. As you guys know, if you are on the channel, I'm a huge Walking Dead fan, love the comics. The show, I'm also a fan of. I've been critical of it lately because I feel like the where the show is now, the main show and the spin-offs, it's honestly the worst quality that it's ever been. And there's bits of goodness here and there, but I'm just overall kind of disappointed in the direction that has been going. So I'm hopeful that it will improve over time, especially looking forward to the Rick movies. But you guys know, if you've been watching my reviews, how I feel about it in general, and that I have a lot of issues at the state of it currently. But I thought it would be fun to come on and talk about why The Walking Dead means so much to me. And got my Michonne shirt on again, as you guys know. So I really attach myself to these stories of survival. It's that primal instinct of, we're not just that we have goals we want to achieve and things that we're fighting against, but just where the basic necessities of life are being withheld from us and things we need to fight to have. I think that's something that in our brains we are really wired for that. That's how we evolved to be, and we're at a point in society now where those basic needs are just taken for granted for the most part. Not everybody, of course, but for the most part, most of us don't struggle getting food and clean water and stuff like that. So really, our brains are not really wired to really thrive in our current dynamic, our current societal, structure, where we don't have to fight for resources as much. And I feel that that's where our increase in depression is coming from, especially with technology. We're spending less time together, less time actually living, and we live by proxy. We have to, look at photos of things online instead of going to go see it. And, our brains are wired to, oh, we can survive to the next day. That's a good thing. That's all I'm looking for. That's how our brains still work. But we're living this landscape now where it's not as clear what our goals should be. So I really like these survival stories because they bring a step back to basics. And they bring back the natural way of the world and the way that humans are really evolved to behave. So I really like stripping down everything and really forcing us to actually live. And, I really like that psychology of what happens to us when we go abruptly from living this pampered lifestyle to all of a sudden every day is a struggle, every moment is a struggle. And how do people change over time? It's really fascinating, and I think that this universe does a great job at delving into that mindset. So I that part appeals to me a lot. I also find The Walking Dead to be a contemplation on leadership, and there are a variety of different leaders throughout the universe, both good and evil. And the good and evil become blurred. We'll come back to that in a second. But when it comes to leadership, what is it that makes Rick so appealing to the group? Why is he just the de facto leader? It's because he wore the uniform. It's because he was previously a sheriff, and that's how in society we are organized, as we have authority figures. And these authority figures, it's wearing a costume, and it's because we believe that institution has significance that we grant them authority. So it's really it's authority by fiat, basically. Like, fiat currency only has value because we believe in the currency, and that applies to leadership as well. So that's why Rick is immediately the de facto leader, is because he was a police officer. He was tasked in civilization to deal with hard situations and threats and stuff like that. And so immediately he's the one that everyone looks to to make those decisions when they're even more dire. So naturally, it's not a democracy. It is a few people making the decision. Even once Rick kind of snaps in the comic and they convert it to a council, not everybody wants to be on the council. Only a select few, and they were the same people who were advising Rick previously. So it really is just a natural progression of that. So, and even then, they still counted on Rick to execute most of the decisions. So that's why Rick is so appealing. What makes, say, Negan so appealing? Negan is selling the idea of the Saviors. The Saviors are a group that, from our group's perspective, the protagonist's perspective, they are essentially just tithing. They come in and they steal a certain percentage of your goods. And from our view, they look like thieves. But from Negan's group's point of view, they are creating a network by which everyone can thrive together. So these people think it's preferable to live that way than it is to live out in the wild on their own, because they are creating a web of interconnected communities that, and using the threat of force to take those things, but they are ultimately not killing those people, right? They just take some of their resources so that they can continue to produce, and it creates this interconnected society. So that's what makes Negan so appealing. And I mean, the fact that he has rules and he enforces them, and he has a certain childlike glee about him. So the enforcing of the rules is something that people really attach to. We like to have consequences for when we think that people step out of line. So we need to have certain people making the rules, and we need to have people suffer the consequences for breaking them, or they don't have any significance. So that's the appeal of Negan, for example. So you can break down each and every leader of the Walking Dead universe, including the Whisperers. I mean, Alpha just has this philosophy of returning humanity to the herd-like mentality of animals. And they don't use language unless they have to. They're really reverted back to a very basic way of living. And their whole philosophy is about rejecting civilization, because that is what got them to this point in the first place. So it's really interesting how each of the leaders sells themselves and their vision for the future to their followers. So that's one of the most interesting things about The Walking Dead. But ultimately, why I love it so much is it has that survival aspect, but I view it as a story of hope. It sounds messed up, but especially with how the comic ended. I was saying this before the comic ended, because it's just about the strength of the human spirit going through a really difficult scenario, changing and morphing over time. Good and evil becomes blurred, but ultimately the human spirit wins out, and people collaborate to survive. Now, there are different tribes that are fighting with each other, and both of them believe that they're fighting for their own greater good, but sometimes that peace can be made, right? So it's about the strength of the human spirit working together to work past adversity. And yes, we fight, yes, we have struggles, yes, we have wars, but at the end of the day, the human spirit wins out, and we will continue on. Life finds a way. So that, to me, is what the story is about. And ultimately, the final issue of the comic series has Rick's story as some sort of mythology, basically, where he was able to find peace and was able to create or lead this civilization into a new age. And it's ultimately a story of hope. It's not a story of fear. So that's how I've always looked at it, and that's why it appeals so much to me. So let me know what you guys think about this idea in the comment section down below. If you agree or disagree, or think I missed something, or if you have an idea about, different leaders, maybe talk about the governor, or whatever you guys want to discuss, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Would love to hear from you. But it's been your boy Shuggy. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out, everybody.